Hello everyone and welcome back to Formula 4 for the first race of 2021. Hopefully all the drivers are fairly well vested, but hopefully not too well vested, and they'll have been practicing, I'm sure, for round 8 of the championship, the Hungarian Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge, I'm replacing George Morgan tonight, and alongside me, as usual, is our co-commentator here at Formula 4, Iestyn Thomas. How are you doing, Iestyn?
Good evening, everyone. I hope none of the drivers have had too much Christmas dinner over the festive period, and hopefully didn't drink too much on New Year's Eve either. So hopefully, Hungarian, people call it the Monaco without the barriers. So hopefully it'll be a challenging test for the drivers, but hopefully a good race.
Yeah, hopefully it should be a good race. Strategy is always important around here. Qualifying 2 is going to be one to watch to see which drivers can possibly get through into the top 10 on a set of those medium tyres and maybe give themselves the best possible chance in the race. And that, of course, is assuming it's dry. There's always a slight possibility of wet weather around here. Just ask Jenson Button, who won the first ever 2 wet Hungarian Grand Prix in 2006, which was his first win, and in 2011, which was actually his 200th race in Formula 1. It looks like the first part of qualifying is going to be overcast, which, to be honest, Iestyn, it might help the drivers with the tyre temperature because it can get a bit high here, especially that twisty sector 2.
Yeah, obviously, you work the tyres a lot around this track, so the overcast conditions could easily play into effect for all drivers, all 17 of them we got this evening. And there's a bit of a Mexican standoff for the opening half a minute of this qualifying session. No one fancies going out, which is a bit of a shame. Oh, I take that back. Drivers are now coming out. Chazza will be the first one out on track.
Yeah, Chazza is the first driver out on track then in that very nice livery MTV Motorsport car. If you're not familiar with how things work here at Formula 4, the drivers are split into 4 different tiers. There's 5 drivers in each tier. Each team is made up of 4 drivers, 1 from each tier. So you're guaranteed to get good racing all the way throughout the field. On paper, Tier 1 are the fastest drivers, but the leader of the championship at the moment is actually Iestyn, one of our Tier 2 drivers. He took a victory at the Spanish Grand Prix last time around, so he is now leading the Drivers' Championship. He's currently on 106 points. Blaze is second on 97. Paulie Orange is also on 97 points. Droftas has 95, and Denge has 94 points. We'll go through the rest of the leaders of the different tiers. So Blaze is leading Tier 1, Iestyn Tier 2, Matteo is leading Tier 3, and Chewy is leading Tier 4, and currently it is Nintendo with an 80-point lead in the Teams Championship. But let's go on board then with Chazza and see what he can do around this Hungarian Grand Prix circuit. First used in Formula 1 in 1986. That fantastic pass from Nelson Piquet around the outside of Ayrton Senna at that turn 1 that we've just seen Chazza gone round. That's probably your best overtaking opportunity in this race, but if you don't get it done there's always a possibility downhill into turn 2 as well. Sometimes you'll see the cars even battling side by side through turn 3 and then they head uphill towards turn 4. A very easy point for the drivers to get it wrong in qualifying, but Chazza keeping it nice and clean at the moment. Then a long right-hander through turn 5. Avoid the curb on the right-hand side, can easily send you spinning around. Then we've got the quick chicane at 6 and 7. Again, be careful on the curbs. And then is this middle sector that we talked about earlier. So twisty, so hard on the tyres, and so easy to lose yourself a lot of time through here if you get yourself slightly offline. He now comes through turn 11, again using as much curb as possible. Heading towards the final sector of the lap. This was changed for the 2003 season. Along with turn 1, you've now got the 90-degree right-hander at turn 12, and then these 2 long 180-degree corners to finish the lap. Turn 13, the pit exit there, pit entry I should say, on the right-hand side, sort of coincides with the corner exit, so sometimes can be deceiving for the drivers. Nice clean lap then from Chazza, a 1:14.590. We have been told it is going to be an overcast qualifying and race, so shouldn't be any worries of the rain, and that did look like a nice tidy opening lap from Chazza.
Yeah, that's the benchmark for the rest of the field to aim at, and there's a fairly clean lap for the MTV car, and not many mistakes I could see, as Andenge beats that comfortably with a 1:13.9 in the Jaguar, which will be a good start for Andenge, as he did have a very good comeback last time out in Spain. Paulie Orange in the GCP set was within 600ths with a 13.972. And yeah, so we're still waiting for drivers to set lap times. And Pillars in the second MTV car sets a 1:13.791. That puts him at the top of the tree at the moment, and lap time will be tumbling.
Yeah, the times will, of course, tumble as the qualifying session goes on, as the track evolution becomes a thing. Droftas now goes up into 4th place on a 1:14.011. Matteo made an absolute hash of his flying lap, so I think he's just trying to get himself some free air to give himself another go. A reminder, it is, of course, a 3-stage qualifying session, so we should... Well, sometimes you never know with F1. We should get 4, we might get 3 drivers leaving in this session. Then we'll be left with the top 10 after the second qualifying, and the drivers that are in the top 10 will have to start the race on the tyres that they set their fastest Q2 time on. That's why it could be interesting to see if some of those faster drivers go for the set of the medium tyres, as Matteo just proving how easy it is around this circuit. This is a feature of the Hungaroring that I've noticed on the F1 games. In qualifying, it seems to be like an ice rink for some reason.
Yeah, you always think, oh, there's going to be traction here. Then when your car is round, you think, oh, there's absolutely no traction there at all. So this is the nature of the Hungaroring on the Formula 1 games, and Matteo has given us a prime example of how not to do the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, he'll have to head back to the pits. I imagine after a couple of spins, those tyres are now absolutely ruined. We have got a few other drivers heading out. Let's see what our championship leader can do then. Iestyn, at the moment, he's just coming around turn 1 now. He's known for being Mr. Consistent, not necessarily the fastest driver over 1 lap, hence why he was placed in Tier 2, but he always seems to be there or thereabouts, and because he keeps it clean, if there's any late safety cars, he's always going to be in a position to take advantage.
As well as track limits, he's normally up there with one of the drivers that is not known to be picking up penalties for cutting corners. There's many places around this track that you can easily run wide or get a warning or even invalidate your lap in qualifying. So Iestyn isn't one of those drivers that does that. He doesn't cut much corners. He keeps it very clean and very consistent.
Yeah, and that sometimes is the name of the game. He's kept it clean on this lap so far. It looks like Energetic 6 has had a bit of a mistake for the BMW team at some point, so we'll see what Iestyn can do at this moment in time, rounding the final couple of corners. I think he'll be aiming maybe in the low 1:14s, high 1:13s. He'd be very impressed with at this early stage of qualifying. He comes around the final corner now. Said he wasn't the best over 1 lap, but that is a very respectable job indeed from Iestyn. 5th position for now, 1:14.128. He'll be happy with that lap time. Who else have we got on a lap at the moment? Total P's just starting his lap with a few other setting times. Energetic 6, because of that spin, having to set another time, of course, 1:40.866 at the moment. It is a fairly short track, this one, so unlike Belgium, you can probably get away with leaving it quite late to set a time, but someone who won't be setting any time whatsoever is Total Peace. He's gone off, it looks like, lost it on the exit of turn 4 and then just headed into the barriers.
Yeah, obviously turn 4, I think it's personally one of the worst corners on the game, because you're either too slow or you've gone in far too much and run wide and lost the back end and into the walls, and that's what's happened to Pease there, and that's very unfortunate for him, and he won't be setting a lap in this qualifying session.
Yeah, so Pease 14th in the championship at the moment. He is quite a quick driver. He won't be setting any time, like you said, so he will be starting towards the back of the grid. Bloomstar on his first lap at the moment. We've got just over 10 minutes remaining of this qualifying session, and it is Infamous Pillars and Denge, Paulie Orange, Droftas and Iestyn, your top 5 at the moment. We've still got 5 drivers yet to set a time, and obviously Total Pease, we know, will not be setting a time whatsoever. He was guaranteed to be missing out on Q2 here. Bloomstar just finding it a bit tricky here in the final sector, having to snap at the wheel a couple of times to get the car turned in. We'll see what this is like for a qualifying lap. Just needs to be fast enough to get into the second part of qualifying. Don't need to worry too much about time at this moment, and he goes into 11th place, just outside of the top 10, and there's definitely time to be gained later on. Interesting how I Am Sloth's done 3 laps on those soft tyres. That's definitely not something you'd recommend in the second set of qualifying, just in case you get the top 10 and have to start the race on those tyres.
Well, I wouldn't recommend it in any type of qualifying session, if I'm honest, but I think that's what Sloth has been doing all season long. He's been doing a very long run in his opening stint in Q1, and if he gets to Q2, he'll change it up a little bit. Then that's what he's known for, and he's doing okay in P7 with a 15 flat. But yet there's still a particularly fast driver in Glock, who's about to start his lap now. Going down the back straight. DRS wide open, going into turn 1. Should be braking around about the 75 meters before the apex. Open the second DRS zone. Before going down into turn 2. You have to be wary. There's many different lines to be taken here. So let's see what he does. He does open up the car and loses the back end actually, and goes for a spin at turn 4. Well, to the entry of turn 4, that will ruin those tyres, and that's a big disappointment for Glock.
Yeah, I think a bigger disappointment though is going to be the Jaguar team at the moment, because I think Postin has lost it on the way into turn 5. So in an almost identical place to where Total Peace has done it. You can just see his car there over to the side of the road before it disappears, thanks to the magic marshals here that Codemasters provide. But yeah, that's 2 of the Jaguars retiring from the session. So even though Postin has done a 1:17.050, you can see he will be taking no further part in qualifying, even if he gets to the second qualifying. So it does take a bit of pressure off some of these drivers. Most are just in the pits now, perhaps happy with the times they have done on their first runs. You'd imagine at least the top 5 would be staying in the pits at the moment, maybe even Chazza as well. We've got Iestyn coming around in the JCB at the moment, one of our tier 4, well, pot 4 drivers, I should say. So his main aim will just be trying to get through to the next part of qualifying, and it's got a bit easier for him now that we've had a couple of retirements.
Yeah, so there'll be a little bit of pressure off the JCB, but pressure will be on Glock, who's going round again to start a second lap time. Well, the first one is not off the pace with a 35.1. You wouldn't expect to see that from someone as quick as Glock. But Streams has got a lot of pressure off him now. He might get into Q2. There's a good chance that he will get into Q2 with 2 retirements, and there's only 17 in the field. So let's see what he does as he comes around the final corner. Make sure he puts the power down nice and early, opens the DRS. He comes across the line. A 1:16.2 puts in P10.
Yeah, that's a very, very good lap from my streams at the moment. Just trying to look through the orders. Pretty quick compared to everyone else in the pot 4 at the moment. So he'll be fairly happy with that 1:16.2, of course, of his track evolution. We will be seeing other drivers coming out, but it does look fairly quiet at the moment. Glock's actually invalidated his second run, and this is the problem when you leave it late on. If you make a slight mistake, he's basically only going to have one chance of getting a lap in. These tyres will be absolutely gone, and you won't have enough fuel to set a decent lap time. Just needs to maybe keep it careful. I'm surprised some of these faster drivers don't just try and set a banker lap early on, like maybe what Droftas has done, Aylan, Chazza as well, you could say. Not exactly fast enough to get first in the session, but not looking like they're in any danger at the moment. Whereas Glock, if he makes a mistake on his on his next one of the drivers we were talking about as possibly being a favourite to take pole position here, could find himself right at the back of the grid at one of the toughest circuits to overtake on.
And obviously, with the nature of the end of qualifying sessions, yeah, this is the so-called gap period where not many drivers go out and set qualifying laps. And obviously, near the end of the session, you'd have more the track would be far more busier, and might affect Glock on his last run with other cars in front of him. So, see if he can pull out the bag in the last 5.5 minutes of this qualifying session.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. There we're seeing Pillars retire from the session. Perhaps not too surprising. A fantastic lap from the MTV driver, 1:13.791. He'll be expecting to beat that, obviously. Well, I say beat it in the next session. Depends whether he tries to get through on the medium tyres. You've got to say, with the gap he's got at the moment, above 11th place, 2.5 seconds above XX, he's definitely got a decent chance. Energetic 6 on his outlap at the moment. One of those drivers to make a mistake early on. Probably doing the right thing, trying to get out while the track is clean, and trying to get out early on just to give him an extra bit of time, perhaps.
Yeah, obviously, if he does a mistake now, it would be very close to see if he can get back round into the pits, change his tyres, maybe adjust the fuels, go back out again. So, as a couple of other drivers now come out for a qualifying lap, and see what the BMW can do.
Yeah, we'll stay on board with Energetic then at the moment. I Am Sloth seems pretty happy with his time at the moment. I'd imagine with a couple of retirements, that's probably the best thing for him to do. Can't imagine some of the others catching him up at this moment in time. Energetic 6, you see there, just takes way too much curb on the inside at turn 4. And I get what you say about being one of the worst corners. It is unique in a way. It's very easy to invalidate on the inside, and it's just as easy to invalidate on the outside as well. Now Energetic 6 just has to cool things down ever so slightly, but now he's going to be out there on track with a lot of other cars. It becomes a lot tougher for him to get a clean lap in himself. Glock's going to be in a similar situation as well. We've got a few others out at the moment. All shot downs just starting his lap. He is in 8th position at this moment in time, so we'll have to wait and see what he can do in the BMW, see if he can work his way further up. Interesting how he's only 2 tenths behind Sloth, yet he clearly doesn't feel comfortable. He's actually gone wide out of turn 3.
So we unfortunately had a bit of a disconnect with Paulie Orange, but good news is he is back in the lobby as Glock, who is the driver to watch at the minute, because he's not particularly safe in P14 as he gets his qualifying lap underway. Hopefully no mistakes for the Nintendo driver, and he'll be able to put himself into Q2.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Chazza has decided he's safe in the pit lane as well, and to be honest, now you can imagine everyone ahead of him might as well retire because they've got no chance of being beaten. So Droftas, don't know whether he's just going out on track for a glory run or not, but Glock at the moment, purple in the first sector, flying around a bit like you would expect. Just needs to set a clean time, doesn't need to do anything silly in this middle sector. No spins, no penalties, and you'd imagine he's already probably done enough, even if he just drives at about 90% of his potential to get into the next part of qualifying. So let's see what he can do for the end of this lap. 2 minutes 30 seconds remaining. We know 2 of the drivers who won't be taking any further part, and unfortunately for the Jaguar team, it's 2 of theirs, with Total Peas and Postin failing to set a time. Glock around the final couple of corners now, keeps it nice and clean at the penultimate corner. Now for the final one, turn 14, flat out towards the finish. He's run out of ERS, he won't care. 113.855, nice and comfortably through in the end, and that'll be a big relief that he doesn't have to go round again and try and do it on a slightly older set of tyres, because he's already, by the looks of things, he's not actually put a fresh set of tyres on. He might have actually gone for a second run then on that same set of tyres. Energetic 6 now moves his way up the order. He goes into 8th place. You'd imagine as well he is probably just about safe at this moment in time. It's rare, and some of these others are still in the pits at the moment. You'd imagine like Bloomstar, XX and Iestyn might be wanting to get out on track at the moment, just in case we see a big improvement from Mateo, which you would expect him to do a lot better than that 117.8.
Yeah, now's the time to get a lap in. Now's the time to get out and make sure you're going to put yourself in the next part of qualifying. And Mateo is a quick driver, and we've seen glimpses of that in past races this season, and that 17.8 doesn't represent him at all. So hopefully, for his sake, he can put a lap in here and get himself into the next qualifying session at the expense of drivers not coming out to set a lap.
Well, all he's done there is pretty much ruined the lap of LPE. Mateo was cruising around on the racing line. LPE's coming around to try and set a hot lap and just got completely blocked there by Mateo, so I'm not sure he'll be too happy about that whatsoever. I'd imagine if there was a stick middle finger up at fellow driver button on this game, he'd have been bashing it at that moment in time, and now he's trying to get onto a hot lap, and he's found Energetic 6 in the way. It's all a bit quiet actually at the end of this session, and I think LPE's heading into the pits because he realises Streams, XX, Bloomstar, all those behind him are still in the pits as well. So Mateo's going for another lap on a really old set of soft tyres. This is going to be tricky to find any improvement whatsoever, you'd imagine, now on what are going to be a 6th lap on a set of softs.
And he hasn't got much ERS left. He's already down to 30%. Obviously, it will harvest as he breaks into many corners. It's gone up now to 40-odd%, but that's not ideal for the ERS situation. And it won't be ideal for his tyres either as he goes into turn 2. And he's looks to have aborted there. Wasn't particularly quick at the exit of turn 2. He is 8 tenths up, but I'm not too sure if it will be good enough.
Well, unless he's made a mistake at a different part of the lap, he's going to need to find a lot more than 8 tenths at the moment to get himself through to the next part of qualifying. He's currently in 16th place, and I believe it'll be the bottom 4 going out in the first stage, if I remember rightly from how it works with odd numbers of drivers in qualifying. He's looking pretty good at the moment. He's 1.2 seconds up. He's going to need a mighty final 3 corners to put Bloomstar and XX under any pressure at this moment in time. So the top pot 3 driver could be going out in Q1 unless he can nail the final few corners on the old tyres. He's just about going to have enough ERS. He actually dips below 10% as he heads towards the line, and that was a 1:16.355 I'm trying to read in the end, and I'm not sure he'll be safe with that. He's either just got through or he's just going to have been knocked out. We'll find out very shortly. By the looks of things, he has just snuck his way. Well, actually, no, we've actually got only 2 drivers being knocked out of this session, and that was the 2 Jaguars who retired. So Total Peas and Posting have made their way through. Bloomstar clearly knowing the qualifying 1, 2 and 3 regulations better than me, and that's why all those bottom drivers didn't go out, because they didn't feel the need to. So it makes you wonder whether Mateo was just trying to get a bit of extra practice in for the race. Maybe he spent Christmas relaxing too much and thought he might as well use that set of tyres to have a feel for what they'll be like if he decides to use them in the race.
Well, he would have been out anyway if he didn't improve on that lap. He would have been out of qualifying. But yeah, Bloomstar and Co know the qualifying regulations when there's a shortened lobby, so that's one to put down in the notebook and remember for the future if there's an event where there's not full grid. And now it's time for Q2, which is 15 minutes.
15 minutes of Q2, and for the top 10, this decides what tyres they'll be starting the race on. So imagine all the Tier 1 drivers and Naylan will be trying to get through on the medium tyres if possible, because that gives you such a huge advantage. We talk about it on the F1 games, how important it is. The alternate strategy, a lot of tracks starting 11th is possibly even better than starting in first place in a normal short qualifying, but this is a chance for those fast drivers to set a lap on the medium tyres. If they get themselves through, they're going to have a really good chance of taking a victory in this race, as opposed to anyone who has to start on the softs.
Yeah, so if I was in this situation and I was thinking, oh, do I want to start on the mediums, do I want to start on the softs, I would ignore both options and try my best to get myself P11 to start on a fresh set of tyres, and it obviously would do you a lot of good. So the drivers, there's one driver out and I can't see who it is. Oh, there it is, it's Streams, who says he's P2 on the menu, but he obviously is not gonna. Don't think he'll end that way. If it does, I'll be amazed. But he's one of the only drivers I think that's on an outlap. So it's very early stages in Q2, and there's not much action going on.
No, I think the drivers clearly wanting to save their tyres maybe for a bit later on, but Streams taking advantage of the empty track to get himself a bit of airtime at this moment, and who can blame him? Maybe if there's a few incidents later on in the session, we saw a bit of blocking towards the end of that qualifying with LPE and Mateo. Thankfully, it didn't affect the Jaguar driver's time. Maybe this is the best opportunity just to get out earlier on when you've got some free air and see if you can set a faster lap time than you did in the previous session. Guessing from the times we saw last time around, you're going to have to be in the 1:15 at least to have any chance of getting through into the next part of qualifying.
Yeah, maybe even getting into the 14s would be the threshold to get yourself into the final part of qualifying. As Streams is on a lap going down into turn number 2. It's a very tricky corner. This downhill. You have to make sure you keep yourself on the apex before opening up, before going into turn 3. Then obviously you have to get good exit from turn 3 before going up the hill into turn 4, which he has slightly missed the apex, but that will do. No invalidations is a good sign for the JCB car as he heads into the chicane. Chazza then, the MTV car, gets out of his way. Very respectable driving from Chazza as he goes into the twisty middle sector. There's a JCB car in front. I can't tell who it is. It could be Bloomstar or Paulie Orange. It is the latter as he goes into sector 3. There's a yellow flag in sector 3, but that's for Paulie Orange, who just slowed down and let Streams pass. Streams gets out to the penultimate corner. Make sure you get this corner correct and make sure you get nice and early on the exit, over the DRS and up to the line to set a 1:15.6. That is the first qualifying lap of the session.
Yeah, and that's not a bad improvement from his time last time around. So I'm beginning to agree with what you said, Iestyn. I think you might need a low 115, high 114 at least then, unless Streams has just found quite a big improvement in his own lap time that time around. So we'll have to wait and see what it means. We've got another Pot 4 driver, I should say, XX, just coming around in the MTV car at the moment. We'll see what sort of lap time he can do, and this might give us a bit of an indication of what the track evolution is like. Here and Streams were very close to each other last time around. I've got a few drivers on the medium tyres. You can see there Matteo, Sloth, Andenge, Orange, LPE, and Chazza, and Glock, who's still in the pits at the moment, all looking like they might be going for a set of the medium tyres. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of times they can do as the MTV driver heads around the final corner, and it is a 1:15.550, puts him fastest for now. We'll see what Energetic 6 can do, actually, because you'd expect him to be a very quick driver indeed on this set of soft tyres as he comes through the middle sector. Surprised that he's not even thinking about maybe going for the mediums. Paulie Orange has invalidated his lap. That's not as big of a worry as it would have been on a set of soft tyres, because you're definitely going to have more time to get yourself around. As Chazza, what a lap time from Chazza, 1:15.0 on the mediums. That might just be good enough.
Yeah, could get himself into Q3 with that. That is brilliant. Let's see what the BMW with Energetic 6 comes across, opens the RS, comes across the line to set a 15.4. And, well, it's Chazza who is the top of the tree. That is a brilliant lap.
Yeah, an absolutely fantastic lap from Chazza. Droftas is another quick driver who's gone for the soft tyres at the moment, but he's not actually using any ERS on this lap, so I don't know if he's just getting a bit of more of a feel for the circuit or just putting a heat cycle in the tyres. And Denge in the Jaguar, 1:15.030. Great job from him. I Am Sloth's gone into 6th place on a 1:15.875, all shot down. Fastest then with a 1:14.777. The Pot 3 driver taking no chances whatsoever. And again, you get a feeling that might be good enough, but they are seeing some pretty rapid times at this moment around. LPE's just coming through the middle sector now. Alan, our championship leader, he's not feeling confident enough in qualifying at the moment to go on the soft tyres. We'll see if he changes his mind and maybe comes into the pits at the end of this lap. Some yellow flags coming through turn 5. I think that's just for a car getting out of the way at the moment. LPE not looking too bad at the moment, but Andenge and Chazza and Paulie Orange, they got some really impressive times on the mediums, only 0.3 of a second behind all shot down.
Yeah, those are very respectable lap times on the mediums, especially for Orange, who obviously invalidated his first lap and had to go around again, only to be within a tenth of the two medium runs in front. I think he'll be very happy with that lap time. Glock is in the middle sector on a set of mediums after his mini heart attack moment in Q1, where he had to wait till near the end of the session to get himself in. And he's going to enter into the last sector now. Obviously, the screen says it's a purple sector too, but Codemasters sometimes want to play games on the sector splits as Glock goes into the penultimate corner. Make sure you get a nice traction exit before going into the last corner. Same issue again. Have to make sure you put your foot down the right time. Over the DRS, comes across the line, a 14.3. That's potentially lap of the day right there.
And what could be a big incident, looking at the track map, something has happened with Paulie Orange and LPE. I imagine on their way back on an in-lap, they're both gone off the circuit, coming on the way into turn 8. I'm just following Sloth round at the moment, and yeah, they're both heading towards the barrier. I think they've just come together on an in-lap, and especially LPE's not safe at all, and you'd imagine Paulie Orange probably seeing Alan and Droftas behind him at the moment. You'd imagine he's not safe either.
And you've got Pillars, who hasn't set a lap time as well, so that could be the end of both of those two qualifying sessions, and they've both come in together. If those two were in a PlayStation party together, I would be enjoying the entertainment coming out of that party.
Yeah, and I imagine there's a few choice words, and LPE's got himself into a few awkward situations in this qualifying session. The one in Q1 with Matteo was definitely not his fault, and unfortunately we couldn't see that one, so we couldn't really comment on what happened. We are on board with Infamous Pillars. Him and Matteo, the only drivers yet to have set a time, with just under 7 minutes of this session remaining. And again, Infamous Pillars, another one of these drivers that looks to just be putting a lap in on the soft tyres, but not really pushing too hard at the moment, just bedding them in ever so slightly. Just getting a bit more of a feel for them because he's not using any ERS. So we'll see where he goes in the ERS-less battle between himself, Alan and Roftas. And it's a 118.311, so he will definitely be going out again. Most of the drivers are in the pits. It's Glock, who you'd imagine is safe, and he retires from the session thinking of the same. All shot down. You'd say he's got a very good chance of being safe, as does Andenge and Shazza. I think everyone else will definitely be wanting to go out again. Interestingly, Energetic 6 has gone out on the medium tyres. He did a 1:15.4 on the soft, so that suggests to me he must have backed off somewhere on the lap just to ensure he didn't start on that set of soft tyres.
Yeah, obviously you might think there's an improvement in that lap time somewhere, so he could have gone on the mediums just to get that a couple of tenths that he might need to book himself a ticket into qualifying 3 as he goes up the hill into turn 4. This is he's 3/4 of a tenth down, which doesn't bode well, but obviously there's plenty of lap time to be gained in the middle sector with all the twisty turny corners, especially that chicane. And going into the S's, I like to call it. You could arguably say it's an S, but you know, there we are. Make sure he gets a good exit from this corner. Doesn't run too wide. That looks okay, but he's a tenth down, which doesn't bode well comparing to the lap time he set on the softs. There's a lock up there going into that corner. Before going into the penultimate corner, he was a very wide entry, a snap at the back end. So that won't help him one bit, and he will complete the lap, but this won't be an improvement. Opposite the RS, it will not be an improvement. A 16.1, he lost quite a lot of time in that last sector, and that could cost him.
Yeah, that could cost him indeed. I wonder whether he's going to... Well, I think he might have tried to go for another lap, but he's gone way too deep into turn 1, so it might be worth him coming into the pits and maybe going back out on the soft tyres just to try and get himself into Q3, or deciding, you know what, starting outside wouldn't be the worst thing whatsoever. In fact, he might still have done a lap good enough, but if he has, he was on the soft tyres for his earlier run. Bloomstar is out on those soft tyres now, as you can see, inside the top 10 at the moment. It is Sloth, Orange, LPE, Shazza, and Engine Glock who've done a time on the mediums. Energetic 6 trying to join them at this moment in time, and Droftas and Alan looking like they're going to be going for a set of the medium tyres as well, as will Pillars and Mateo when they make their way back out onto circuit. Bloomstar can knock LPE out at the moment. All he needs to do is find a thousandth of a second, which is doesn't sound too hard, but sometimes you can just push yourself a tiny bit too hard. They always say slow in, fast out is the way, and that's something I could probably do with learning myself. But Bloomstar there, 3/10 of a second up, so it looks like he's going to go into the top 10 for now. You'd imagine, though, he'd be having to find a lot more time than that if he wants to stay there.
Yeah, because obviously this would put him around the 16.1 mark, which obviously wouldn't put him in a significant place to say that he's safe. Comes across the line at 15.6, a very improved last sector, puts him P8 for now. This could be a very close end to qualifying 2.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It's those bottom 4 drivers at the moment, Alan, Droftas, Pillars and Mateo. It's what sort of times can they put in on the medium tyres. Will they be up round about where Andenge and Shazza Glock are at the moment, or will they just find themselves a bit further down? We'll have to wait and see. Droftas on his outlap at the moment. Most of the drivers that are heading out on track are on their outlaps. They're wanting to be out at the last possible moment to take advantage of the track evolution, as the sun has come out then at the Hungaroring, so any chance of rain, I think, for the final part of qualifying is definitely not going to happen now. We'll see what some of the drivers can do on their hot laps. Infamous Pillars just heading around turn 1 now, and you've mentioned it yourself, Iestyn. Turn 2, you can take many different lines there during the race when you're going for an overtake. The inside, the outside, quite often you see a bit of battling, and quite often the car on the inside can find themselves getting spun around.
Yeah, there's many traction issues I've had at turn 2 in past leagues, and but that is mainly my own fault, which is a bit of a shame. I don't see many drivers lose the back end unless they're in battle with each other. But Pillars, this looks kind of a tidy lap. There's a flick of dust to the exit of the chicane, but this looks quite good on the medium set tyres.
Yeah, he's nearly 3 seconds up on his time already, which was a 118.311. So you've got to say this is going to be somewhere about the 1 minute 15 mark, so should put him comfortably safe into the next part of qualifying on that set of the medium tyres. We'll see what he can do at the moment. Infamous Pillars heads towards the line. Is a 1:14.707, the second fastest time of the session, second fastest time on those mediums. He will be comfortably through to the next part of qualifying. Mateo looks like he's backed off his lap somewhere, maybe made a slight mistake, so again he's going to have to leave it right until the last minute if he wants to get himself into the next part of qualifying. Groftas is improving on his time. We'll see how he is through sector 2. He's 2 seconds up on his personal best, so again he'll be looking to be in and around the 1 minute 15 mark. LPE is definitely out of the session. If Paulie Orange improves, he'll be knocking his JCB teammate Paulie Orange definitely out of the session, and then it's who else will be dropping down the order. Will we see Alan and Mateo manage to improve, and Sloth as well to knock some others out as Drofgas goes into 4th position. He'll be nice and comfortably safe with that one. It's trying to just work out who could still be in trouble at the moment. I'd imagine I can see why Energetic 6 is out there again, because if others find an improvement, we see Sloth go into 2nd place on the soft tyres with a 1:14.6. I'd definitely say Energetic 6, XX, and, well, we know Orange is out. It's those two drivers who need to be careful at the moment, and XX is still in the pits. He could find himself getting knocked out here in the pit lane, as we see Alan now get himself up into 6th place.
Yeah, that was good for Alan. That's the last time he needed to get himself through into the next qualifying session. Mateo is going to be close as he opens his DRS, comes across the line. It's not good enough with a Nintendo car. 1:15.999 isn't good enough. We're putting P14, but that's a big shame for the Nintendo car.
No, yeah, it's a big shame for him. XX has missed out while he's been in the pits. Iestreams got himself up into 12th position, and Energetic 6 found a bit of improvement then in that session, and he's showing us 9th on the screen. He is actually in 10th, but that'll be good enough anyway to get himself through to the next part. Everyone now will just be heading back towards the pit, so it is Glock who is on the fastest at the moment. He'll be on the medium tyres. Most of the top 10 actually managing to get through on a set of mediums is only Sloth and All Shot Down, so they might be ones to watch on the first lap as they'll be flying their way around on the softs. And Paulie Orange, he won't be too worried about that, I don't think. He'll be starting in 10th position. Might have liked to be starting a bit higher on the medium tyres, but he might be glad now that he did set his best time on those mediums and not on the softs.
Obviously, he's still got another qualifying session to complete, so the top 10 could be completely different in about 12 minutes' time, which is obviously the entertainment value of these full qualifying sessions you get in Formula 1.
Yeah, I'm not sure though whether because Paulie Orange has retired from the session, it will actually let him, because he's retired out on track, I'm not sure it'll let him take part.
Well, I'm not too sure on that one. Obviously, if you retire in the pits, you get away with it, but I'm not too sure about in the car.
Yeah, bit of a worry for everyone else though was just the pace of Glock in that session, a 1:14.3. 3 tenths faster than anyone else, nearly 4 tenths faster than anyone else on the medium tyres, and he did that early on without any real track evolution, as we see who is out of the session. And you can see there, Paulie Orange has got the red mark next to his name, so he will be starting in 10th position. It's Glock, Sloth, Pillars, All Shot Down, Droftas, Alan, Andens, Chazer, and Energetic 6 will be fighting for pole position. Paulie Orange will be starting in 10th. XX, Streams, Bloomstar, and Mateo and LPE knocked out of that qualifying session. And I'm expecting Mateo maybe to find a bit more time. It looks like he's not really enjoying this circuit.
No, it didn't look good for him in Q1. He spent a lot of time on that soft in Q1, and obviously Q2 he just couldn't get a quick enough lap in, and that's him out of this qualifying session. If Paulie Orange didn't retire the car, he would have been in Q3, and he'd been 9th as well. So, yeah, that's disappointing for the JCB and the Nintendo.
Yeah, disappointing for them. We'll see what sort of time we can get in this qualifying session. Are we going for any brave predictions for pole position? I'm thinking low mid 1:13 comfortably.
I was thinking 13.6. That's my prediction.
I'm going to go 13.4. I think with a bit of track evolution, we might see it drop down a bit more. As you can see, who is through to the, well, you can see he's through to the next part of qualifying. We knew that anyway, and it's good news for the, it's good news for some teams. It's good news for MTV. Sloth, Chazza, and Infamous Pillars all getting through, and X was in 11th place. A slight bit of improvement for him. Maybe if he'd have gone out again, they could have had all 4 of them into the final qualifying session, which would have been a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, so 12 minutes of qualifying 3 to decide who is where in the top 10, who will clinch pole position. This should be a very intriguing qualifying session. None of this medium tyre nonsense. I think everyone will go on the red striped softs and try and get their fastest lap time in this qualifying session.
Yeah, who will get that important pole position, and of course the 2 points that go with it as well. If you're not familiar with the point system here at Formula 4, you do get 2 points for pole position, you get 1 point for fastest lap in the race, you get 22 points for the win, and then it goes down in ones from 19th second down to 1 point for 20th. So everyone is guaranteed points as long as you can make it to the checkered flag, and as we've already seen from this qualifying session, that is not really a given around this circuit. Only 12 minutes of qualifying then. We'll see what everyone's done. All shot down is going to be the first one to set a lap. He has invalidated his lap quite late there, and you don't want to be doing that just in case it invalidates your next lap as well.
Yeah, so you make sure you get the invalidation out of the way on your out lap, and you don't do it on your qualifying lap as he starts his qualifying lap in Q3. Yeah, obviously the red highlighted across the track will disappear, and he sets off on a qualifying lap.
You'll see what all shot down can do then. Of course, one of the top 3 drivers, I'm just going through it at the moment. We've got quite a few fast people have made it through, but a few of those from the lower pots as well. Sloth and all shot down making it into this session from pot 3, so they'll be very happy with how they've done, because on timing form you would expect them to get knocked out in the second qualifying, but just taking advantage of mistakes from some of the others. We saw obviously Paulie Orange didn't make it on pace, but made a mistake, and obviously Total Pete is probably the biggest shock being out in Q1. It'll be very interesting to see what sort of strategy he has to do in the race. All shot down, just get a bit of a side on through turn 9 and 10, and again for 11, and there it is, he's invalidated his lap, so he won't be setting a valid lap time. Be interesting whether he dives into the pitch straight away or not. Aylin is behind him at the moment, just getting ready to start a flying lap, so we'll see what time, or would have seen what time all shot down would have done, but he has quite wisely perhaps decided to head straight into the pit, so it's going to be Andenge to set the benchmark for everyone else to beat in the early stages of this session. The Jaguar driver's first attempt at a qualifying time, 1:13.974, fastest time we've seen from anyone at the moment, quickly beaten by Pillars in a 1:13.5. That is a smashing lap time. I think we might have been a bit pessimistic with these pole position predictions, as Glock now goes into a 1:13.1. We could see a 1:12 here easily after the second run.
Our predictions are absolutely miles off, and well, Glock has absolutely smashed that lap. A 1:13.1 is a brilliant lap time to set, and even Pillars' lap time is not bad or anything. That's a good lap, but Glock has sent him to the cleaners there.
Yeah, fantastic time from Glock. Gav wasn't kidding when he said buckle up for a rapid Q3. It's been a bit more rapid than us guys were expecting. We'll see what Sloth can do at the moment as he heads towards the line. Slowest of everyone that has set a time at the moment, but he's got a clean running. He is in 6th. Aylin, our championship leader. Where will he be after the first runs? It's Nintendo leading at the moment with MTV 2nd and 3rd, so they'll be fairly happy with how they've done. Aylin just getting a bit wide out of the final corner into 3rd position, so maybe, just maybe, without riding that curb, who knows whether he'd been able to get into 2nd place. But Glock with a fantastic performance at the moment, and perhaps unsurprisingly, energetic 6th and all shot down, well, especially all shot down. Looks like he's leaving it a bit later, maybe just going for the one run, maybe saving a bit of tyres.
Well, obviously we saw all shot down invalid his first run, so obviously he might have to leave it late. He might even have run out of tyres, which would be a great shame for the BMW. As I say that is him coming out now, so he's obviously going to try and go for it during the gap.
Yeah, you do see this We normally see drivers, when they're running out of tyres, thinking, I'll go for it in between, in the lull, in the session, which as commentators we're very grateful for, because it gives us something to talk about. It gives us a lap to go on around this circuit. Hopefully he hasn't left himself short on tyres in the race, because I do believe he's going to be one of those starting on the old set of Q2 tyres. So might have to go for a two-stop strategy, might not, but we'll wait and see how he does at this moment in time. Glock, though, the fastest with half the session gone. Then Pillars, Aylin, Shazard, Groftas, and Enge. Sloth, the only drivers to have set a lap time with Energetic 6, and the man we all on board with at the moment, all shot down. Still yet to set a time, so the BMW drivers will be hoping that they can bump themselves further up the order at the moment. I mean, all shot down. He could take the lead in the Pot 3 Championship at the moment. He's only 11 points behind Matteo, and it does look like Matteo is struggling ever so slightly here, struggling to keep a clean lap. So if we get a lot of penalties from Matteo, never know what could happen. It is close all throughout the field, and the separate Pot Championships do, of course, mean the drivers have something special to fight for in their own little group. All shot down. We'll see what he can do into turn 1 at the moment. Nice and clean through there. We've spoken about these 2 DRS zones. The trick is, though, with the Hungaroring, there's only 1 detection point. So if you overtake someone into turn 1, you get a nice little boost of DRS down to turn 2 to help you defend the position, which doesn't really seem fair, if I'm being honest.
But in saying that, if you don't get the move down into turn 1, you'll get the opportunity again then going into turn 2, which obviously benefits the driver that is behind in the detection zone. So it swings this roundabout.
Yeah, most certainly. We'll see what All Shot Down can do then on his lap at the moment. Those turn 1 and turn 2 really the main overtaking opportunities. Sometimes into turn 6 if a driver makes a mistake through 5, and sometimes you can see an overtaking move into the right-hander here at turn 12 as well. But we'll see what sort of time it is going to be from the BMW driver. He would expect him to be aiming somewhere around what Sloth has done at the moment, so maybe a mid 1 minute 14, maybe just slightly below that if he can nail the final corner. What's it going to be for All Shot Down? In the end, he's just behind Sloth on a 1:14.973. I can't imagine we'll see him coming out again in this session. Energetic still in the pit, and Denge coming around at the moment. But he's trying to get himself out early. He is improving ever so slightly at the moment, and he only needs to find 10th and a quarter to get himself ahead of Chazza at this moment in time. And he must have made a mistake in the middle sector on his previous lap. He's found about 4 tenths in that one sector alone. This could be good enough to challenge for the front row from the Jaguar driver.
Well, it could be very impressive indeed. Obviously, Jaguar lost their first 2 drivers in qualifying 1. So let's see what Andenge can do. Comes across the line, a 13.4, puts himself on the front row. That is a very good lap time.
Yeah, very good lap time then from Andenge. We'll see if Pillars, Aylin, Chazza and Groftas, those are the ones we'd be expecting more than any of the others to challenge. Maybe Energetic 6 now, if he can get a time. But Andenge, a really good lap time from him. He is in 2nd place at the moment. He's 3rd in the Tier 2 the Pot 2 Championship, despite being quite high up there at the moment in the Full Drivers Championship. Just showing a bit like Aylin that if you've got that consistency, you've got a great chance in this championship. It's also getting a bit quiet at the moment as Anden shows us the line. You don't really want to be taking too much in the race, otherwise you'll get yourself a penalty for that. And that chicane can cause a bit of trouble, especially as your tyres are getting a bit old. If you've ruined those rear tyres, that's really where you need some good traction out of that chicane. Probably the slowest part of the circuit.
It's either the chicane or turn 1. I think it's turn 1 that is the slowest part on track, as we see a first driver coming out for their last runs of qualifying. That is Droftas in the JCB. See what he can do down in P6. I think he'll have a couple of attempts in him somewhere, but it should be very interesting to see how he gets on.
Yeah, it should be very interesting. We're really getting to the crunch part of this Hungarian Grand Prix qualifying session though. 2 minutes 20 remaining. Glock and Danger in for the pillars. Aylin, Chazard, Rofgas, the only man out on circuit at the moment, and then Sloth shot down and Energetic 6. I'd be surprised if we see Andenge shot down back on circuit again, and Energetic 6 at the moment has left it very late indeed to head out on circuit, so whether we'll see him at all we'll have to wait and see. It did take him a couple of runs. It looks like as though he's just about to leave the pit lane at this moment in time. And Droftas will be hoping that he doesn't get caught. He doesn't get caught in any of the outlap traffic around here, because we've seen it already. If you catch someone in that final sector, it is very tricky for them to get out of the way in a safe fashion.
As well as trying to get out of their dirty air. If there's a car in front of you on the qualifying lap, they could be very tricky to get the right amount of distance to have a bit of a slipstream, but not affect the front end of the car.
Yeah, that's always tricky. The dirty air on this game does seem to be more powerful than it was in previous years. Codemaster's making it slightly more realistic, but that does mean it is slightly trickier as well. It's probably led to a few more DRS trains that we've seen. Droftas is slightly down on his time at the moment, and that's lap invalidated. That is probably going to be qualifying over for him. He's had a big spin, taps the wall, and if he's got away without any front wing damage, he's a very lucky boy indeed. But that's probably going to be it for Droftas now. He's going to be starting from 6th, you'd imagine, at the highest. Might just have enough time to get back round again. It's just whether he's got enough tyres to set a good lap, as Sloth he's going to be the first man to finish off his qualifying session out of everyone else at the moment. 1:14.740. You'd imagine he's going to have to really go some to move his way up the order. Maybe just covering off any potential moves from Energetic 6 and All Shot Down at this moment in time.
Yeah, he's about 400s up in the first sector, so he might be just covering from the two drivers behind as he goes through the middle sector. He'll be hoping to not invalid on this qualifying lap. This is be the last time he'll be able to set a qualifying lap. There's 8 seconds left in this session. He's a tenth and a bit up now, which is a bit of an improvement, but I don't think it won't be enough to gain any positions.
Yeah, we'll see whether he does decide to finish this lap. He is doing, as we were saying, maybe to just cover off Shot Down. I think he's had a bit of a moment somewhere. We did see a yellow flag, and indeed he has pulled off the circuit. So Sloth stays in 7th place, I should say, with a 1:14. Aylin has had a spin coming out of turn 12, so he won't be improving at all. Chazza has invalidated his lap, so quite a few drivers finding it tricky late on in this qualifying session. Can Infamous Pillars get himself back onto the front row? He was second after his first one in qualifying. What time is it going to be from the MTV driver? It is good enough for second for now. 1:13.2. Is Glock going to get into those 1:12s? Not quite, but he improves his time at the top with a 1:13.033. Energetic 6 heads towards the line. He takes that 7th position, gets himself onto the clean side of the grid, and Den's trying to get back onto the front row. Just can't quite manage it with a 1:13.321. All Shot Down heads into the pit lane. So it is Glock, a man who at one stage it looked like might not even be making it through Q1. He's going to be starting in P1 for this Hungarian Grand Prix. 1:13.033. And apart from that little wobble at the start, a very dominant qualifying session from Glock.
Yeah, he's been flying, in fairness to him. That lap time on the mediums in Q2 showed that he had good pace, and obviously he's topped that with a brilliant lap in this final part of qualifying.
Yeah, fantastic lap from him. You can see now why Sloth did go out and carry on that lap. Just not quite enough. Stopping getting beaten by Energetic 6. Droftas in 6th place. And there were a few drivers struggling towards the end of that session, wasn't there? To just get any significant improvements and not make a mistake. We saw Droftas and Aylin both mess up on their laps. But it is Glock on pole position. Pillars will be on the front row alongside him. And Denge 3rd in the Jaguar. So 3 different teams in the top 3. Aylin and Shazza 4th and 5th. Droftas is 6th. Energetic 6th, 7th. I Am Sloth will be 8th. And All Shot Down will be a 9th. And Paulie Orange, of course, didn't take part in that session. You've got to imagine Glock's going to be feeling pretty good about this. Starting on the medium tyres, as are most of the other drivers around him, in fairness, but that means the one stop should be fairly straightforward for him. It's an overcast race, so as long as it doesn't rain, again, it should be a fairly straightforward one stop. And he's on pole position. It's exactly where you want to be with how awkward it can be to overtake around this track.
But obviously the risk of safety cars at the Hungaroring is quite high. So you might expect to see one of those this evening, which could throw a curveball in this race.
Yes, you never know. Virtual safety cars, all those different things that could happen, especially if you're trying a slightly different strategy to all of the others. If you're going for a two-stop and a safety car comes out right as you're wanting to do your second stop, that would be absolutely beautiful, of course. So the drivers now just tweaking their setups. They're allowed to make changes to tyre pressures, to the diff, to the front wing, just to change things ever so slightly. Drofter saying he forgot new tyres for his second run. You'd have to imagine without that, maybe he could have maybe found himself challenging for the front row, because Glock, he had a big advantage after his first lap, not quite as big of an advantage after his second one. Infamous and Andenge getting a bit closer than the others managed in the first instance.
Yeah, I think there was only 2/10 between the top two at the end there, which obviously shows it's quite close. So he might have snuck in there, but it would have been close if he did have some fresh tyres.
Yeah, definitely. And we always talk about tyres quite a lot. That is the way it is in modern Formula 1. So we'll see what tyres everyone is on at the moment. All on the mediums, apart from Sloth and Shot Down, who obviously didn't have any choice after setting their fastest laps in Q2 on the soft tyres. So for those two drivers, it's important that they get a good start and make as many places up as possible before lap 3, before the DRS gets activated. Because once you're stuck in a DRS train around here, it becomes almost impossible to do an overtake unless a car in front makes a mistake.
Yeah, so if you're on the softs, you just want to have the best start in your entire career and blitz everyone else. If you're on the mediums, you just want to make sure you can run the tyre as long as possible into the race, bearing any safety cars. But other than that, it should be a fairly entertaining Grand Prix.
Yes, it should be indeed. Let us know in the chat who you think is going to end up taking the victory, your predictions for the podium, and maybe how some of those faster guys further down the field are going to do. Paulie Orange in 10th place for 3 Jaguars right at the back of the grid with Total P's, a very quick driver indeed, in 17th position at this moment in time. What can he do in the Jaguar? Can he maybe get himself up the order? Mateo, the pot 3 leader at this moment in time, he's down in 14th as well. Doesn't seem to enjoy this circuit, but it is a long race, 35 laps around the Hungaroring. Overcast conditions at the moment, but it is predicted to stay dry, so that could have a bearing on the tyres. You'd imagine they'll last slightly longer in the slightly cooler conditions. Strap in, everyone. This should be a good race.
Yeah, they should be fun as the drivers get back into their grid slots after the formation lap. It will be the 2 Jaguars at the back who will just about get to the grid now.
Yes, Total P's lining up his grid slot. 16 cars ahead of him as he tries to make his way up from the back of the grid. But Glock with the view that all the drivers wanted on the run down to turn 1. It is quite a long one as well as the 5 lights are on. They go out and we are underway here at the Hungaroring. What are the starts like? Just trying to see from Glock at the moment. He's gone very defensive early on for Infamous Pillars. Wants to cut off that line on the inside, but Pillars is too busy dealing with Andenge, trying to go all the way around the outside of him into turn 1 at this moment in time. Glock manages to hold on to the lead. Pillars and Andenge are still going to be side by side on the run down to turn 2. The Jaguar trying to get that inside line. Pillars knows he can maybe hold it off for the outside because that gives him the inside for turn 3, and he defends that position with Andenge going very wide indeed. Mateo is out of the session, and we said we could get a safety car. He's off in the wall at turn 3. We've got ourselves a safety car. Streams has a 5-second penalty, so something has kicked off in the background, and everyone now just has to relax again all of a sudden. Safety car.
You've had the adrenaline of the opening lap and the opening of the start of the Grand Prix, and obviously now a safety car's come out, so everything's going to be calm, very calm.
Yeah, everything will just calm down all of a sudden. I mean, Sloth's had a pretty good start on those soft tyres, just getting himself into 5th place. Who's had an amazing start? The man who was back in the grid. Total B's has took full advantage of whatever chaos was happening in all that. He's got himself up into 10th position at the moment, just behind Paulie Orange. So maybe with Total B's can still have a bit of a say on the way this race could go, because we didn't get to see what his pace was like in the early stages. Can't imagine we're going to see anyone heading into the pits. If there was going to be anyone, it might have been one of those soft tyre runners just to get rid of them at this moment in time. In fact, Bloomstar is into the pits, so I'm guessing he might have been caught up in that incident as well, because you wouldn't pit off the medium tyres this early on unless you've got yourself some damage.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a disappointment for the JCB there. And the front wing is at the ready, so there's obviously a change to the front wing and a set of, I believe that is softs. Very interesting strategy there from Blue Star to go onto the softs. Maybe that could have been a mistake, driver error. Maybe the team has given them the softs, maybe didn't want it, but they won't cause much damage to his tyre life because they're under safety car conditions.
Yeah, that is an interesting option from Bloomstar. I wonder whether he might think about heading back into the pits again, putting a set of mediums and just trying to get the mediums to last long enough to then go into a fresh set of mediums at the end of the race and doing that compulsory lap you've got to do. I wonder if streams will come in to try and take advantage of you can serve a 5-second pit stop under the safety car, which is one of the things that annoys me the most about F1 2020, if I'm being honest.
Obviously in real life you're not allowed to serve penalties under safety cars, but in the game you can, which is a bit annoying, but it's just one of the things, something in the game that you got to live with.
Yeah, it's annoying unless you're the person who's got your penalty, in which case it's a godsend. We'll be getting a safety car for at least one more lap then as we wait for Bloomstar to catch up to the back of the field. Glock, Infamous Pillars and Denge. Eistyn, the top 4 staying as they were at the start of this race. Sloth moving up 3 positions then. Great start from him. Surprising that All Shot Down actually lost a few places on that set of soft tyres, because if anything, a bit like Sloth, you'd have expected him to jump up the order as well.
Yeah, so obviously the soft runners will have to capitalise on this restart. Sloth is at a good start in fairness to him. He's up into P5. Shame we can't say the same about All Shot Down outside of the top 10 in P11. Obviously the start of P's has done really well. As I say that, All Shot Down has picked up a penalty for, I believe, a collision under the safety car with streams. That might be looked at after the race, because even if you tap the car in front, you will get a penalty for it.
Yeah, you're well, and that's now 2 5-second penalties Streams has got, so he's on 10 seconds. Not ideal whatsoever. Will get removed in the pit stops, of course. LPE and Paul Steen still cleanly in this race at the back of the field, with only Bloomstar behind them, who picked up the damage on lap 1 in the lap 1 incident with Matteo, which did lead to a retirement from Matteo and led to Streams picking up one of those penalties. So Glock will very shortly be having to get ready for when to go under the safety car. You don't want to go too early. You don't want to give someone a lovely slipstream down towards turn 1, because it's definitely a good overtaking opportunity if you've got a car right behind you on the exit.
But obviously he has to go at a certain time where Pillars is not expecting him to go, as the safety car is coming to the end of this lap. So the safety car will drive away and Glock will technically be the safety car, even though he's the race leader.
Yeah, Glock now dictating the pace. He's got to wait for the safety car to get past the safety car line. If he accelerates too quickly and catches it up, the game will automatically slow him down, and that can cause all manner of Mugello style chaos behind. It looks like he has gone, though, out of turn 13. It looks like Pillars not able to stay with him massively, and Andenge definitely didn't get his tyres warmed up. He's got big front wing damage. Has he gone into the back of Pillars under the safety car as it was restarting? That is a nightmare for him if that is the case. But Pillars and Glock first and second, with Glock holding on to the lead. Sloth using those soft tyres to try and get himself now down the inside of Eistyn. Energetic 6 has got a time penalty for ignoring a yellow flag there, so he must have done an overtake under the safety car at the end. I'm not sure who that would have been on, to be perfectly honest. Paulie Orange himself, well, he's now battling side by side, and a Jaguar driver gets himself up into 8th position through turn 3, so he's absolutely flying on those fresh medium tyres. In the background, that is Streams working his way past Andenge. I didn't quite catch that on my end, as LPE's coming for a set of hard tyres, but Andenge, the worst possible place to pick up big front wing damage. He's possibly even going to be behind LPE when he has to pit to fix this.
Yeah, and Den's lost the back end of the exit of the Northern corner, so he's too eager to get going, and he's lost the back end and smashed himself into the wall, and he hasn't got he's lost a big chunk of that front wing, which is going to be costly for him, because he's in a really good position.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Energetic 6 and Droftas off the circuit there. So Energetic 6 has picked up front wing damage. I think Droftas has avoided anything. It's all kicking off in these early stages. So that's another car that's going to have to be coming into the pits. And Droftas now finds himself outside of the top 10 in 11th position. Glock has absolutely flown away at the moment. 9 tenths ahead of Infamous Pillars. Alan, 3 seconds off the back of the MTV car. At this moment in time, Sloth's dropped back ever so slightly, maybe already starting to just feel the heat a bit on those soft tyres. Droftas working his way past X, so he's now back into the top 10. So it is Block, Pillars, Alan, Sloth, Chazza, Peas, Orange, all shot down, Streams and Droftas. Your top 10 at the moment, and Engine Energetic 6 both coming into the pits. Peas picking up the first track limits penalty. And to say we've had a few laps under the safety car, that is very early indeed. He's going to have to be a careful boy in this race, because if he keeps up at this rate, could be well into the double figures.
Yeah, that's not obviously a good start. If you pick up a penalty within 5 laps of a 35 lap race, you're going to get, well, nearly around about 20 seconds worth of penalties, which won't be good for your end results. So Glock has he's done the Sebastian Vettel, and he's blitzed the rest of the field really. He's 1.4 seconds in front of Pillars, who hasn't driven badly. He's just it's just Glock is absolutely flying at the moment.
Yeah, Glock was doing a bit of wet practice before his race, and his times were incredible, almost both record. Incredible. He's pretty quick around the Hungarian. It is fair to say. DRS will be available to use next time around then on the run down into turn 1, and Chazza might well be taking advantage of it. He's all over the back of Sloth at the moment, who perhaps has just already taken too much out with those medium tyres, but it's not looking like there's any team orders at the moment. Sloth just staying ahead of Chazza, and this is where it's really going to cost all these behind him in this middle sector. If Sloth tyres are gone, they could lose about a second to Alan just in this middle sector alone.
Yeah, so I'm going to say MTV could easily sort something out between the two drivers, but they don't want to affect Chazza's race. If the Sloth moves out the way, he'll just let everyone else to have a go at Chazza then going into the next DRS straight. So they have to be very careful in the way they swap the drivers at MTV.
Yeah, you imagine though whether they're going to be careful or not. It's going to happen on the main straight then, as we're now to lap 7 of this race. Still Glock leading, then Pillars, then Alan, then this train of cars you can see at this moment in time as Sloth moves over to defend the inside line, and he's got pretty decent straight line speed, and Chazza not able to take advantage. So P says, well, I might have a go next time around, but that means I've got to get past you first. And there you go, straight down the inside. That is Total P's up into 5th position. And I imagine whoever's in charge at MTV won't be very happy at the moment, because maybe a bit of a lack of teamwork there has ended up costing a position for Chazza, who looks to be the quicker of the drivers at the moment. But Sloth, to be honest, it's not like Chazza really got close to overtaking Sloth on that pit straight, as Droftas now works his way past Streams.
So MTV showing how not to overtake in the team orders way, and well, GCB have done well there with Streams just getting out of the way of his teammate and just letting him attack the cars in front, which will be this train that is formed behind Sloth. But I don't think there'll be a train much longer. Total P's has had a really good lap here, and he's right behind the MTV car, and surely we'll have a look going down the back straight as they going to start lap 8 of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, you'd imagine as well, just looking at Sloth there coming through turn 13, you can see the rear getting a bit twitchy. It won't be too long, even though we've had a few laps under the safety car, before he ditches those soft tyres. And here comes Total P's. Sloth's going to run out of ERS pretty soon, and Sloth with the ERS, well, P's with the ERS, with the DRS, all the way around the outside, and takes that 4th position. Then is Chazza ever able to get close enough onto the back of Sloth? Again, can't quite get close enough, and Orange and Shot Down are behind. And you can see how much that has cost all these drivers, because Droftas was 4 seconds behind them not too long ago. That gap's already pretty much down to 3 seconds, so it won't be too long. You'd imagine if Sloth continues holding some of these up before, like you said, Droftas is on the back of the train.
So it won't be long until this will regain to a 5-car battle that we just saw. Alan is in a a very weird position here. He's just on his own, just casually driving. He's in P3. He's the championship leader, but he's on his own with nothing much to do except to drive around the Hungarian ring for a few laps until his tyres are gone. And he has to change. There's a big oversteer moment there, actually. The exit up the corner. That could dent the tyres a little bit, but it's a good position to be in, all on your own.
Yeah,
don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, Sloth's into the pits, and I wonder if it was Iestyn just being all on his own, maybe just a bit of a lapse of concentration. Like you said, though, he's in a pretty good position at the moment. The two drivers ahead of him, Pillars and Glock. Glock's 7th in the championship, and Pillars is 6th at the moment, so not needing to really worry about them massively from a championship point of view at this moment in time, although it is extremely close at the top of the table. Mathematically, Glock can take the championship lead tonight if Iestyn has an absolute disaster and ends up retiring from the race and Glock takes the victory. Depending on other results, we could see the other Nintendo driver at the top of the standings. Sloth did come into the pits then. He's put a set of the soft tyres on again, so he's firmly nailed his flag to the two-stop mast there in 13th position at the moment. You'd expect him to have some really good pace on those tyres. See if Paulie Orange can now do something about Chazza in all of this, because Total Peas has picked up another penalty. That's 6 seconds already, and they've only really had about 6 racing laps when you count the safety car. Total Peas has escaped from these ever so slightly at the moment. It looks like he's closing into Iestyn. That could have been down to Iestyn's mistake. We'll see whether Chazza did have any extra pace, or whether Paulie Orange might be able to work his way through. All shut down then heads into the pits as well off the soft tyre, so that's going to put Groftas up another position. And now you've got JCB. All their cars are going to be 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th. Not in a bad situation.
The tractor train is the new nickname for that, and it's not looking that bad for GCB at the minute. Obviously now that's changed because Paulie Orange and Chazza, and Paulie Orange gets the move done. He used the outside line going into turn 2 and he got the move done.
Yeah, so Paulie Orange, they're clearly thinking he's got the pace over Chazza at this moment in time. Uses for DRS, gets himself up into 5th position. We'll see whether he can close into P's, although if the Jaguar driver keeps picking up lots of penalties, he might not need to close up to him by the end of the race. At the front though, it is still Glock looking pretty peaceful at the moment, 2 seconds ahead of Infamous Pillars. Iestyn a further 6 seconds behind. He does look as though he can't keep up with the pace of those front two, and whether by the end of the race we'll see P's, Orange, Chazza, maybe some others as well, depending on what happens, depending of course if we do get any more safety cars. That could change everything here at Formula 4, but it's looking pretty standard at the moment for Glock and Pillars. They'll be looking pretty comfortable. They won't be hoping for any safety cars. It's now going to be interesting to see what some of these drivers can do that are on the softs. All shot down went for the hards, so he's perhaps trying to make it towards the end. Just on board with Bloomstar behind Streams. Already looks so he's got a bit of oversteer on those 7-lap old softs. You'd imagine in another couple of laps he might be thinking about heading into the pits. Perhaps a set of mediums to get him towards the end.
Yeah, so the gamble of pitting under the safety car for a set of softs, obviously he had front wing damage, so that he did have to come into the pits, but the gamble for a set of softs might have not worked out. Meanwhile, Sloth is up into P11 after overtaking his teammate into turn 1. We're looking at the Jaguar with Paul in front of him, and he is within DRS. As Streams picks up a 3-second time penalty in the JCB, and yeah, it's all kind of calmed down a bit. Obviously, it's only one driver that's in DRS of another, and Sloth is all over the back of the Jaguar, and he should be interesting to see. He should be able to get this move done. He's pushing him through the middle sector here. Is the MTV car. He's clearly the faster car. Obviously, they're not teammates, so they're not. Fernando is faster than you, but Sloth does get the move done.
Yeah, crucial for Sloth, because now he's got 5.5 seconds of free air to Bloomstar, and you'd imagine by the time he catches that up, Bloomstar might be thinking about coming into the pit, so that's ideal. If you're going for this two-stop strategy, you don't want to be stuck in a train, you don't want to be stuck in any traffic, because that can really cause you problems. So Sloth might be able to do something good towards the end of this race, just by being on a faster tyre than everyone else, because you'd imagine those that are ahead of him at the moment, with the possible exception of Bloomstar, will be on a set of the hard tyres towards the end, whereas he should be able to make the mediums work. He won't be able to go on through another set of softs, of course. You do have to use 2 different types of tyres in a dry race, and despite it still looking overcast, we haven't heard anything from any of the drivers suggesting that there will be a threat of rain. It's all spacing out ever so slightly. We've got XX nearly within, well, just about within DRS range of Paul at the moment, so we'll see whether there's any battling between them. We'll see what Andenge can do as well. After breaking that front wing under the safety car, he looked fantastic. He had a great start, just couldn't quite get ahead of infamous pillars. Then we had the safety car, made a mistake under the safety car. You'd imagine it's going to be tough for him to perhaps even get into the top 10 now with the way things are.
Yeah, he's 5.3 seconds behind his nearest car, and it doesn't look good for him. Obviously a brilliant qualifying session, a really good start to this Grand Prix, and then obviously that mistake under the safety car has cost him dearly.
Yeah, it has cost him dearly indeed. As there we go, Bloomstar does come into the pit turn, so perhaps a bit early for a set of the medium tyres if he wants to have really good pace on them towards the end. I imagine this is going to be then for a set, no, it is for a set of the medium tyres. He'll be hoping that they are fresh. Indeed they are, so we'll have to see if he can stretch those out far enough, or whether he's going for an interesting free-stop strategy, but this is going to drop him into 14th place for now, but again has a bit of free air to use them tyres before he catches up to all shot down. We're also seeing some drivers starting to close gaps further up the field. Droftas now starting to get within DRS range of Chaza on the same age of tyres, of course. Be interesting to see whether Droftas can get this move done before the pits. And an interesting thing about the pit stop, even though all these drivers are linked up in their own teams, that not necessarily means that when they come into the pits they'll be their teammate on the game. They might be stuck with someone completely different, which can really make it awkward, especially in these multiplayer races, because you're not always sure who your teammate is, and Droftas deciding the best way to get around that is to make sure you're the first one to come into the pits. He's going for the undercut.
Yeah, the undercut is normally the right way to go if you're looking for time in the Formula 1 games, but obviously it differs from every track. He's puts on a set with a white striped hard tyre, so he's looking to go until the end of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense for Droftas to do that on the conventional one-stop strategy. If you started on the mediums, he comes out in 9th position, and despite going off the road with Energetic 6 earlier, could still be a pretty decent result for Droftas at the moment. He's now 4.5 seconds behind Sloth, who's trying to close his way up to Streams. Another driver who's starting to become under a bit of pressure is Aylin. Pease is pushing hard. We can tell that by all of his penalties. He's now within just over half a second, about 7/10 of Aylin at the moment. And Paulie Owen just keeping that gap at around about 2 seconds at the moment. The sun is starting to break out around this circuit. Will Droftas' pit stop cause a chain reaction? Will we see a few other drivers think now might be the time to head into the pits? Aylin and Pease deciding that they will be staying out. It looks like Orange and Chaza are as well. DRS open on the back of Peace's car. One to lap 15. He's just not close enough to go for that move now. Guessing next couple of laps is when we'll start to see most of those front runners think about coming in.
Yeah, so it's around right. This is where the time to pit is, as Sloth has overtaken Streams, who has obviously gone into the pits. He had enough for those medium tyres for one day. Obviously it depends where he goes on now. I think he'll go on a set of hards just like his JCB teammate, and a set of hards is what he does. Obviously he has to serve a 5-second time penalty for his incident at the start of the Grand Prix under the safety car, and then away he goes. He will rejoin in P15, I believe. It's going to be close, but LP gets in front, and P15 is where the JCB car will slot in.
Yeah, we saw some teamwork for some of the other Jaguar cars there. Postin letting Andenge by for 9th place, and they just about managed to stay ahead of XX doing so. So a bit of a lesson maybe for the MTV boys about how it should have been done early on. But Andenge in 9th place is on much fresher tyres than his teammate. Makes sense to just let him go free, and you think he'll be on some mediums towards the end. Paulie Orange then and Chaza, some of the first front runners alongside Droftas to come into the pits. Total Peso down the inside of Aylin into turn 1 while all those pit stops are going on. He clearly feels comfortable on those tyres, and he clearly wanted to use the DRS to get it done out on track. So that is Total P's up into 3rd position. Orange and Chazza both out on the white walled tyres, and this could be interesting if they come out behind I Am Sloth. This is not going to be ideal indeed. Chazza has dropped behind Droftas in all of that, and poorly Orange and Sloth are battling side by side here. Sloth's still got enough traction on those soft tyres to make this difficult for the JCB driver, who has just pitted on those hards, so might not be used to the grip at this moment in time. But Orange does hold on to 5th place. That's worked out very well for the JCB team. Orange just hanging on to the position from Sloth, and Droftas obviously making the undercut work. He's now up into 7th at Chazza's expense.
Yeah, so that'll be disappointing for Chazza. Oh, well, for MTV in general, with Sloth not getting in front of Paulie Orange, could have easily helped Chazza by holding up the 2 JCB cars. But the top 2 are coming into the pits. I think the top 3 are as well. Well, as they say that, the top 4 are. So they're all coming into the pits at the same time.
Yeah, they've all clearly been doing their practice and decided lap 16 is the one. They've all kept it clean as well on the way into the pits. Hard tyres going on every single one of these cars at the moment. Total P's with what some would say is that dream pit lane slot at the end of the grid at the moment. So he is in 3rd position for now, keeps that 3rd. No position changes in all of that. Sloth comes in off the soft tyres, so again he might be going for the hard, so that puts Droftas now up into 5th place. Not as long as a stint as I would have expected on the soft from Sloth. Holstein and XX both coming to the pits as well. All the medium runners, well, all those that started on the mediums, I think, have now come into the pits, and you can see there, after these stops, everyone will have done their one compulsory pit stop, and we might, well, it's only Andenge, you'd imagine, he's definitely going to have to come into the pits again for another set of medium tyres, but he will be lightning fast towards the end.
Potentially Chazza as well. He might be one that might have to come in for a late stop. Someone that's really struggling tonight is Eistyn. Paulie Orange is right behind him in the scrap for P4. Obviously, it wasn't that long ago when Total P's went down his inside into turn 1. And the JCB of Paulie Orange will have an opportunity here at P4.
Yeah, he will indeed, and he could be dragging along Droftas and Chazza in all of this as well. And Eistyn's just got to try and keep that gap down to Total P's at the moment. We'll get the penalties up very quickly. You can see it's 8 seconds for Streams, 6 P's and X, 3 seconds for Andenge, and all shot down. So the majority of the drivers have kept it fairly clean at this moment in time. Paulie Orange does have the DRS open just a bit too far back to think about this move this time around. And I'm sure Droftas and Chazza will be trying to get onto the back, even though JCB are teammates. Orange and Droftas both want to beat each other, of course, in this race. Both have their own championship ambitions at this moment in time. Blue Star, another one of the JCB drivers, he's in 10th at the moment. He's actually another one who you'd think, on 4-lap old mediums, it's going to be tough to get those towards the end. I think he'll be safe from a puncture, but he's going to be really struggling for pace.
Yeah, I think Bloomstar might be hoping for another safety car to come in round about lap 26, 27, and he can just dart into the pits then when his tyres will be near the end of its life. So it's going to be very risky, but if Bloomstar can hold out, it'll be very impressive on a set of medium tyres. As Chazza picks up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. It's all bunching up now. As Glock says to the fast lap on the race, so 1:16.808 is all bunching up for the scrap for P4.
Yeah, it's all bunching up behind Eistyn at this moment in time. And again, Orange doesn't look like he's perhaps close enough this time around to go for a move. Chazza's penalty not costing him anything at this moment in time. Obviously, if some of the others get closer towards him, or he manages to make his way past Droftas or anyone else in this train, then it could just be costly indeed. It's all bunching up as well for 9th place. You've got shot down Bloomstar and Sloth, so 9th, 10th and 11th, all shot down, and Sloth were in the top 10 earlier on. We're in the top 10 in qualifying, started on the soft tyres, and you can just see it's not really the strategy to go for around this track. They will gain a place when Andenge comes into the pits for another set of the mediums, but it remains to be seen whether they can hold him off, as he will be lightning quick towards the end and might have a pretty good chance of setting a fastest lap himself. Eistyn's got to be careful here, because if he starts defending too much, you can see already Total P's is nearly 3 seconds ahead of him. If he starts overly defending here, he's going to cost himself a chance at a podium anyway.
And it could as well. He could affect his tyres, which could be a massive blow compared to the drivers behind. Obviously, if he's pushing too hard to defend in front of Paulie Orange, he could easily run out of life on those hards, which would be a big shame for our championship leader, and he could lose a couple of positions because of defending too much.
Yeah, you can see Paulie Orange just lost a lot of pace in the dirty air there. Had a big snap of, well, understeer initially, then oversteer when he got onto the curb, coming out of the final corner, coming out of that turn 14. So he almost dropped second behind Aylin. As long as he can get back within it at the DRS detection point, he'll be fine. But that's obviously allowed Droftas to really catch up. We've had a retirement from the session, and that is XX. Will that do anything with a safety car? Yes, it will. Now this could be very interesting. If you've got a fresh set of... If you're in Andenja's position, this is absolutely beautiful. You come into the pits, get a set of medium tyres on, they're comfortably getting you towards the end. For the others, softs might just be a bit of too much of a stretch to get towards the end. And if you've not got a fresh set of mediums, are you going to risk a pit stop?
I wouldn't risk a pit stop, no, unless your name is Andenge, I think that's LP, with 15 lap old hards that he's got on. Maybe even Bloomstar if he's got another set of mediums, but not too sure on that one. But someone that has gone into the pits is Glock. Well, the top two have both gone into the pits. This is interesting. They might have another set of tyres in their disposal. Pease follows them. So, well, the majority of the field will be coming into the pits. Everyone's coming in. They've all got a fresh set of medium tyres to use up, which is very good to see.
Yeah, it's good for them. This is going to be a bit like an F2 sprint race now towards the end once all the pack bunches up in all this medium tyres going on. Every car then thinking there's just too long to go for them to be able to hold on, and Paulie Orange not able to jump Aylin in that pit stop period. It's all stayed the same for now. Like we said, Sloth's decided to stay out on track, and that sort of makes sense, seeing as he'd only just put on that set of medium tyres, and he is one of the drivers to stay out and gains a position ahead of Andenge. And it looks like Streams is staying out as well on that set of hard tyres. So it's always nice to see drivers do something different, and you never know if there's another safety car at any point. This just could work in their favour.
Yeah, drivers are going against the grain, which is very nice to see. And someone like LP had to change those tyres. He was using those hards for 16 laps. Yeah, he was desperate for a safety car, and he's got one. And obviously, it's going to be very interesting remaining laps. The top 6 are all on new sets of medium tyres.
Yeah, so this could be good indeed, because Glock's... This is the closest anyone's been to Glock since the first safety car ended. He had such a good restart, managed to get far enough ahead of infamous pillars, and Andenge had his spin. And interestingly, Andenge clearly didn't have another set of the medium tyres on, because he's had to go onto the hard tyres. He's going to find it really tricky to keep up with those ahead of him.
Yeah, and it's going to be tricky for Andenge, but he has got a lot of pace we've seen this season, so I wouldn't write him off just yet in this Grand Prix, but it will be tricky for him on a slower compound compared to the drivers in front of him.
Yeah, it will be indeed. It's just got to hope that maybe the mediums of Sloth perhaps start to fall off towards the end, but this safety car period and being on lighter fuel, that really shouldn't be a factor. Stream's staying out on the older hard tyres. He's going to struggle with a warm-up, but he's in 10th at the moment. Bloomstar had an almost fresh set to put on. Not quite a fresh set, but definitely good news for him with that safety car period. We've still got 15 runners then in this race, and this is where the penalties, especially if you're total P's at the moment with 6 seconds, this is where they become really costly, because he was looking like he was showing the pace to build up that 6-second gap above Aylin. He's now probably going to have to pull out something like half a tenth a lap if he wants to keep this podium, and that's assuming he doesn't pick up any more penalties.
Well, that's also assuming if no one else picks up penalties. Obviously, if Aylin and Paulie Orange pick up a penalty, then there's less work for Pease to do, which we'll be hoping for those two drivers to pick up a couple of 3 second time penalties for corner cutting, but I don't think with championship leader Iestyn, I don't think he'll pick up a penalty. He's been very clean in terms of the penalty count this season. Although his pace tonight hasn't been brilliant, but he's very clean in terms of the track limits.
Yeah, he is very clean. We're just waiting for LPE and Postine to catch up to the back of the field, which they have done now, so it remains to be seen whether we'll get a very late safety car in message. And there we go, 3 corners to go. We do get that message, so Glock has really got to slow the pack down and really got to start warming those tyres up and thinking, when am I going to get this move done? He managed to get it done absolutely perfect out of this penultimate corner last time around, and Infamous Pillars went with him enough to not be under any threat from the car behind, but wasn't able to have a challenge at Glock. It looks like he's leaving it a bit later this time. Normally, you can only do the same thing once, and there he goes through the final corner, and Infamous Pillars really saw that one coming, and look how much Glock is having to go defensive here. Total Peace is right on the back of Infamous Pillars as well, so he's going to try and go all the way around the outside into turn 1. We're nearly 3 wide into that first corner, and somehow it all ends up in the same way that they go out. So Total Peace still leading from Pillars, Peas, Aylin, Orange, Droftas, Jezzard, Sloth and Denge a bit further back, as you would expect. Bloomstar now trying to go all the way around the outside of All Shot down at turn 2, gets the move done, so he's up into 11th despite having the slightly older medium tyres. Energetic 6 not too far behind as he looks to take advantage of all that as well. Quite a nervy restart there from Glock, and I'm surprised Pillars didn't go with him to get that slipstream, as Streams off the track just about avoids the barrier, avoids picking up any damage at least. And I say that and he then completely makes a mess of the 3-point turn and picks up quite severe damage on his front wing, so he'll now have to come back into the pits. Fair to say Glock's had better restarts than that. In the end, just managed to hold on to the lead though.
I thought Glock lost the back end and went into the wall. It didn't look good for him at one stage. He's done well there. Unfortunate for Streams with the botch attempt at that 3-point turn and going straight into the opposite wall, which obviously isn't a good thing to do while being in a Formula 1 car. But very nervy. It's going to be a nervy end to this Grand Prix.
Yeah, and Paulie Orange letting Droftas through then, so that is now Droftas up into 5th position. It's been a good recovery from him after that spin early on. It remains to be seen if he can maybe start putting Aylin under any pressure, because as it stands now, Aylin would be getting a podium. It all depends on the penalty situations and whatever change later on in the race. That spin from Streams, it's good to see him carrying on. That means he's now down at the back of the field, but it's promoted Bloomstar up into 10th place. We've got some support for Sloth in the track, but on the charts, but unfortunately he's not been staying on the track as much as he would have liked. He's picked up a 3-second time penalty at the moment on those older medium tyres, perhaps struggling a bit with the warm-up under the safety car. It's spacing out again with the top 4 drivers. Glock nearly outside of the DRS range of Pillars, who's nearly outside of Total Peasers, who Aylin is outside of DRS range now, so he's going to find himself under a bit of trouble once again. But it looked like he had it covered off last time against Paulie Orange. Maybe that's why Orange just thought, I'll let Droftas through and see if he can get the move done.
Yeah, all for the Constructors' Championship is Paulie Orange, as Glock sets the fastest lap in the race, and DRS is now enabled. Obviously, it's not enabled for the first 2 laps after a safety car restart, so next time round, Droftas will have that to his advantage to see if he can overtake the championship leader, Aylin.
Yeah, we thought Andenge might struggle slightly on those hard tyres. He's using his natural pace to get himself ahead of Sloth, so that is the Jaguar driver up into 8th position at the moment. It's BMW who are really struggling tonight. They only had Shot Down and Energetic 6 by the looks of things, and both of those drivers outside of the top 10, unfortunately for them, not being an ideal evening whatsoever. See if Andenge can catch up to the back of the pack ahead of him, but still on the hard tyres. I think that is going to be quite a task indeed. You can see Aylin is really struggling at the moment. Total Peace has pulled out about 0.8 of a second on this lap, and with Pease being in DRS range of those ahead, you'd imagine that gap is just going to grow and grow and grow. Pease is probably thinking, just hang on Aylin as much as possible and let me build that 6 seconds.
Pease will be looking for Aylin to perhaps give him a podium, because Aylin's pace this race hasn't been brilliant He lost a lot of time in the opening stint after the first safety car, and he's losing time again. He's gone down to 2.4 now, which is not what we normally see from our championship leader.
No, it isn't. But again, those ahead of him, Inverse Pillars and Glock had a chance of taking championship leads tonight. Total Peas is a long way down, but they're not really his biggest rivals at this moment in time, so it's not like he'll be too worried, even if he ends up finishing in 4th place, because that would only be 5 points lost to Glock with the race result. But with Glock at the moment still having the fastest lap of the race and pole position, it will mean that Glock's on for the perfect 25 points here in this Formula 4 race. So that remains to be seen whether Eistyn can hold on to what could still be a 3rd position after penalties. And because of the nature of this track, Rofdas can't really get close enough to go for an overtake, and he's not got a lot of ERS, so maybe even if he could get close enough, he'd struggle, as now that is LPE that has spun off the circuit. Ian for Jaguar able to carry on without any damage, and that's just allowed his teammate to now move up into 13th place. But you can see here, Rofdas opens for DRS, he runs out of ERS by the time we get to the finish line, and therefore he's not able to get close enough, or anywhere near close enough into turn 1, and not even close enough into turn 2.
But Paulie Orange behind him, he's got about 14% left on his ERS. He's got plenty of ERS to burn. His streams for tyres, and that's a 3rd safety car. If Anden's got a new set of soft tyres on him, I'm sure there'll be others as well. But if Anden's got a set of softs, this will definitely take him to the end of the race.
Yes, definitely, and this is really bad news now for Total Peas and those that have got penalties, because they've got to try and rebuild that gap once again. It is our 3rd safety car. I think it came out just too late for LPE, who had just gone past the pits. Now I'd expect we might see a bit more of a mix on the tyres. Which drivers are going to dive into the pits for a fresh set of the softs, which will easily make it towards the end, and who's going to try and stay out on those 5-lap old mediums, which should have decent pace, but might just be a bit more tricky to warm up. But we've already seen overtaking is definitely at a premium around this racetrack. So are we going to see any drivers dive into the pits, and who's going to think, you know what, I can just maybe hold it on here? Glock does come in to the pits. Pillars and Peas staying out. Eistyn gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. That is huge news for our championship leader. We said before he normally keeps it clean. He definitely hasn't then. He stayed out on the circuit, and a drive-through penalty, he will have to serve that. That's going to drop him down into last place.
That is absolutely vital for the championship, that is. That is silly from Eistyn, because you have the Delta. LP is another driver that's fallen victim to speeding under the safety car. He also picks up a drive-through penalty, but that is a killer blow for Eistyn. He had a really good opportunity to get himself onto the podium tonight, and I don't think he will now. That's a big, big shame.
Yeah, you can see quite a lot of drivers deciding to stay out then. Pillars, Peas, Eistyn, Orange and Denge all shot down in your top 6. Glock, the first one of those on the soft tyres in 7th. We know he's quick when he's in the air. How quick is he going to be in traffic with 5 or 6 laps remaining when the safety car comes in? Remains to be seen. Polstein is in 8th, and it is Droftas, Chazer, Sloth, LPE, Bloomstar and Energetic 6, the final runners, and LPE just in the middle of that pack on the medium tyres. Could be a bit of a lamb to the slaughter here. This is going to be very interesting indeed. Glock's definitely going to have the pace. It's just whether he can use it quickly enough to get ahead.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see how these soft runners get on, and Denge will be a stumbling block on those hards. Glock will have to have a mega restart. Obviously, he's not used to being in the midfield at the restart. 2 occasions he's been at the front. This is a brilliant opportunity for Pillars, because the 2 cars behind him both have to. Well, Peas has got a penalties. Eistyn has to serve a drive-through. Then there's Paulie Orange. Then Anden's in all shot down. Both have penalties. Then there's Glock. So Glock he could get a podium in this race if penalties are kind to him.
Yes, definitely. I mean, Eistyn, we know, is going to have to get out of the way of everyone. I imagine he'll be serving. Well, he'll have to serve the drive-through penalty. If he doesn't, there'll be enough laps left. If he doesn't do it, he will get disqualified. And with how bunched up the pack is going to be, that is a 14th place guaranteed unless we see any other spinners, retirements or big penalties. LPE has one as well, actually, so it's a guaranteed 13th place for Eistyn. Still probably enough to hold on to his championship lead, but nowhere near as many points as he would have been expecting to get when he's been looking very likely to get a podium, you've got to say, all race. And that's how cruel it can be sometimes. If you're just not quite paying attention to the delta and you let it slip over, all of a sudden, even by 1,000th of a second, the game just slaps a drive-through penalty on you, and it's annoying for the drivers, but those are the rules.
And your race is ruined then when you pick up the penalty, especially at this late stage.
So you can see there the penalty situation. 6 seconds for Pease, drive-through for Eistyn, 3 for Andenge, 8 for Shutdown, 5 for Paulstein, 3 for Chazza and Slaw for the drive-through for LPA. So those that have kept it clean, your infamous pillars, your Paulie Orange, Glock, Droftas, Blue Star, Energetic 6 could find themselves gaining a lot of places by the time the checkered flag falls, and me and Iestyn are going to have to get our abacuses out to try and work out how this is going to be ending. Safety car in this lap. We're going to get 6 more laps of racing. Pillars has been the second man in the train, and he's seen one restart done well and one restart done not so well by Glock at the moment, but both times Glock was able to just hold on to the lead. When will Infamous Pillars decide he's going to put the hammer down? The safety car is just about clear now, so there we go. Infamous Pillars is going for this before the final corner, and Total Peas has almost been able to go with him at the moment. LPE spun at the end of the safety car, and Eistyn's nowhere near close at this moment in time, so these two are just streaked away after the safety car. It is Pillars, Peas, Eistyn, Orange and Denge all shut down. Glock diving down the inside of the BMW driver. That's what he needs to do. He gets himself up into 6th place. Droftas is in all sorts of battling here at the moment. Ches has got his way ahead of Paulstein. Sloth manages it as well and nearly collects the back of Droftas in doing so. Now Glock's all over the back of Andenge. Got some battling further behind, side by side. Couldn't quite see who that was. Andenge has gone deep into turn 4. Can Glock go all the way round the outside at turn 5? Fantastic move by the Nintendo driver. He takes 5th position. Andenge loses a place, picks up a penalty. On those hard tyres, it was already going to be a difficult restart, but Glock's effectively 4th in this train, because we know Eistyn's going to be getting out of the way. If he can get past Orange, he's going to have the pace to catch right up to the back of Peas and Pillars. Yeah,
there's a bit of a disaster for Andenge then at turn 4. He got a penalty for running wide, and then moments later he got absolutely done around the outside by Glock, who's already caught up to Paulie Orange and Eistyn. Eistyn obviously goes to set his drive for a bit of contact there. That will cost Glock, and Andenge will surely get the position back. Trying to go for the move down the inside into the last corner, which will never work. Glock survives for P4 now, but he's lost a lot of time there.
Yeah, just a bit of impatience there from Glock, or perhaps not realising how much Paulie Orange would be struggling. Droftas works his way up ahead of All Shot Down, so he's now into 7th place, and Chazza is now going to try and have a move and then surely he's not going to try and go around the outside of turn 4, and no, he does decide it's the best thing to perhaps stay behind. Eistyn and LPE have both been into the pits to serve their drive-throughs, and they have come out in 13th and 14th place, whereas in the lead of this race, Pillars now 0.6 seconds ahead of Total Peas. Doesn't have to worry about Peas too much though, because of the penalties. He's 3.5 ahead of Paulie Orange, 4 seconds ahead of Glock. Droftas has managed to get ahead of Chezza, and Chezza's picked up damage in that, so I wonder if there's been a bit of contact between Droftas and Chezza, and I wonder if Droftas just let the NTV driver by then, because he did seem to be very slow out of that corner. But Chezza, with that front wing damage, he's going to struggle ever so slightly. Even though he is on the soft tyres, you don't want to be missing an end plate around this circuit.
Meanwhile, Glock is absolutely flying. Obviously, DRS is activated now, but he won't use it down the back straight. But he's absolutely flying. He's got far more grip than what Paulie Orange has got on those mediums, and the softs are definitely working for him at the latter stages of this race. Maybe that incident a lap ago could easily have cost him a potential race win, even in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, because you'd imagine he's getting past Paulie Orange next time around, and then he's going to be about 3 seconds behind Peas and Pillars. Oh, he picks up a penalty. That's really going to cost him now. All of a sudden, now he's got to think about getting ahead of Orange and then trying to catch up to Peas and Pillars, which should be a fairly straightforward job. Further down the back of the field, Energetic 6 managed to get ahead of Bloomstar, so he's into the top 10 in what seems to be like the first time for pretty much forever in this race after that incident with Groftas earlier, and he's now trying to work his way past Sloth and Chazza, and Chazza with that front wing damage. It might be worth just letting Sloth go ever so slightly here. In fact, Sloth's made a mistake. Energetic not able to take advantage, and Bloomstein not close enough as well, and Sloth, he's actually got the front wing damage as well, so I think that's both of the MTV cars. One's missing a left end plate, one missing a right end plate. It's not going well for those two, but for their teammate, he's still in the lead of this race on to lap 33. Pease has the DRS open, isn't able to take the position. Glock has the DRS open on Paulie Orange. A very late move down the inside. He's got the grip though to get it done. Can he get the traction coming out of the corner? Paulie Orange has had a really good exit there. Glock's going to have to go all the way around the outside, and just look at that for braking performance. Oh, Orange there. I think Glock thought he had all his car ahead and didn't quite have enough ahead at that moment, and Paulie Orange perhaps might have been worth just staying out of that in the end. Thankfully though, doesn't pick up any damage. That is Glock up into third place. He can definitely catch up to Peas and Pillars. He can maybe even get ahead of them. I can't see him getting ahead and pulling 3 seconds on Infamous Pillars. No matter how well he's driving, no matter how much extra grip he's got on those tyres.
I don't think he will be able to claim a race win here. That penalty and that mistake again with Paulie Orange a couple of laps ago has definitely cost Glock here of a race win. Maybe he didn't even need the pit stop to the softs. He would have been fine just staying out. He was in the lead of this Grand Prix. He's led the majority of this Grand Prix. But as Pillars started the penultimate lap, he looks certainly in the right seat to win this Grand Prix.
Yeah, he does indeed. Glock should be, you'd imagine he might do enough to get second position. It just depends whether he can pull out 3 seconds on Paulie Orange at the moment. And with Orange having DRS on this lap, that's just going to be slightly more tough than it otherwise would have meant to have been. But Pillars, Orange and Glock in some order look like being your podium. Energetic 6 now up into 8th place as Posteen tries to get himself up into 11th. Him and Sloth are battling the MTV car versus the Jaguar. Jaguar on the older medium tyres, trying his best to get ahead of Sloth, who's obviously got that front wing damage at this moment in time. Groftas trying to catch up too, and Denge, he will do him on penalties at this moment in time. And again, if he picks up the pace quite dramatically, or if Pease picks up another penalty, you never know, he might be able to jump his way further up the order. We're nearly onto the final lap of the race. You can see how hard Glock is pushing in the background, but I think you're right, that mistake and that penalty, and you can probably say that pit stop, has cost him the win here.
100% as Pillars goes round for the penultimate time, about to start the final lap of the Grand Prix. He's got Pease within DRS of him, but the penalties will mean the Pillars will be fine. He can even let him through, but make sure he keeps a 6-second advantage in this final lap. But I don't think he'll do that. He'd want to win on track for the MTV team.
Yeah, and it looks like, as long as he doesn't make a mistake, it looks like he will win on track. Glock pushing as hard as possible to try and jump Paulie Orange. Who knows whether that extra point could be all important at the end of the season. He's 1.5 seconds ahead at the moment. Alan has managed to work his way ahead of Sloth, so he's pushing his way up through the field on those older medium tyres. He'll jump ahead of Posteen on penalties as well, but he won't get ahead of Blue Star and Chazza unless they make a mistake, or they will get ahead of All Shot Down, who's picked up 11 seconds, and that is the problem. If you get penalties and there's a late safety car, you are always in a bad situation, as Glock's really pushing hard. He's picked up another penalty here all of a sudden, so that means Total Peace has now got a chance of will stay on the podium. You'd imagine it's all gone wrong for Glock after the final safety car. There's got to be someone, if it goes wrong for one driver, someone has to be there to take advantage. Pillars hasn't put a foot wrong in this race. He's got the strategy working fantastically, and when he had a bit of fortune, he took full advantage. Infamous Pillars takes the victory. It is going to be Paulie Orange who gets promoted to second place. Total Peace in third. Glock missing out on the podium, and I think that crash and leaving the session says all you need to say about how happy he is about that. Groftas gets a 5th position, and Denge, despite a mistake under the safety car earlier, gets 6th. He might be thinking what could have been. Energetic 6, Chazza, Blue Star and Alan will round out to the top 10. Then All Shot Down, Posteen, Sloth and LPE will be our final finisher. great performance from Infamous Pillars. Did the opposite of Glock. That proved out to be the right thing to do, and he kept it clean, under some pressure as well, and deserves the victory.
And Glock did lose his head in those last few laps, especially when he picked up that second penalty. He was ready to just close the application and put his PlayStation off for the evening, and he'll be very disappointed with that. Total P's, remember, started down in P17. That incident in qualifying 1 that sent him right to the very back of the grid, and he's done a brilliant job to recover today.
Yeah, definitely a fantastic job really from all the drivers. P's recovering from the back. He could have been second place without the penalties, and who knows, maybe he could have fought a bit harder for the win. But it is Pillars who takes the victory. Paulie Orange gets second place, and Total P's from the back of the grid finishes in third position. As we get the results in before any possible stewards' inquiries, it is Pillars, Orange and P's, your top 3. Glock from pole position got the fastest lap, but could only finish 4th in the end after going for the extra stop. Droftas in 5th place, and Denge in 6th, sorry, to cope on the hard tyres at the end of this race. Energetic 6th, 7th, Chaza, Bloomstar and Aylin, our championship leader, after getting a drive-through penalty under the safety car. Who knows whether he could have been standing in that second or third step on the podium. All shot down was 11th, Polstein 12th, Sloth and LPE 13th and 14th, your final finishers, and then Streams, X and Mateo were the 3 retirements, each one causing a safety car. Glock dealt with the first safety car well. The second one didn't perhaps deal with it as well, but managed to hold on to the lead. But that pit stop and then picking up the penalties at the end cost him a victory. There's no other way of putting it. Yeah, fantastic race then. Fantastic race that we saw there. Plenty of action involving all our drivers. And we do have the man who did take the victory in that race joining us in the commentary box. It is Infamous Pillars. And was it always the plan to do the opposite of what Glock did on that final pit stop?
Yeah, pretty much. I saw the traffic behind and thought better of it personally, but I didn't think it was going to work, seeing how Glock came through the field. But no, definitely paid off right at the end though.
Yeah, fantastic performance. In fact, you nearly got Glock on the second safety car. We didn't have the best of runs. It looked like you might have a chance, and then all of a sudden, Total Peas was trying it on you around the outside.
Yeah, it was kind of caught me out because I thought he was going to go where he did on the first safety car, so I was primed and ready for that one. And when he went around the last corner, I was close to him, but I didn't want to move so far into his slipstream because I knew Peas was there, so I had to defend the inside. So it's just a matter of breaking late and hoping Peas doesn't try to switch back on me.
A great victory as well from yourself. Just thinking where you were in the championship before this, you were in 6th position. I'm just trying to do the maths slightly quickly in my head. I think you might have moved up maybe 1 or 2 places with that victory. It is so close at the top of the championship. You must have a lot of confidence going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I've made a bit of a bad start to this championship. A load of half spins and when I was in good position. So at least today, obviously, new year, new start. And yeah, I've got to say big up to Xerxes or X for just cheering me on the last couple of laps. He wanted a shout out, so I thought why not. But yeah, it was definitely moved me up there a little bit closer to him. Obviously, Chris getting that drive through, unluckily, has also helped me as well. So yeah.
Iestyn, do you have any questions for our race winner?
No, not really. Just want to say well done, very good performance, and hopefully new year. You said new year, different Infamous Pillars. Hopefully you can keep it up.
Definitely, thanks, Vic. Cheers.
It's obviously a great win from Pillars. We are going to try and get our 2nd and 3rd place drivers into that. It's quite an exciting to the race, and you said it yourself yesterday. If there's a late safety car, it could change anything, and that's probably all the decisive things that happened in the race, as we have now actually got the man who finished in 3rd position has joined the chat, and it is Total P's. A great comeback from yourself after retiring in the first part of qualifying.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd get a good result after that, but it worked out. I didn't think I'd have the pace either, but I managed to cling on when I could, and obviously the safety car did help. But I had good pace, even when I was 8-9 seconds off pillars. I was matching him, so I think if had I not messed up, I could have been higher, as well as the penalties.
Yeah, we asked this question to Pillars as well. Were you tempted to come into the pits for the safety car, or did you think I'll have to overtake too many cars? I might as well stay out on these mediums.
I thought I even said it because I was talking to my team. I said it's not worth it because everyone's still bunched up from the last one, so we're going to be behind too many people. So I thought, nah, just stay on the medium. The mediums weren't worn either.
I know it must have been slightly frustrating with the late safety cars because it looked like you were pulling out enough of a. I mean, you finished third anyway, but it looked like you were pulling out enough of a gap on the others, especially if it hadn't been for the penalties. Do you think you'd have maybe been a bit more aggressive towards the end of the race and tried to finish ahead of Pillars? Because it looked like you didn't really go for the move too much after the final safety car.
Yeah, definitely would have been more aggressive, but Pillars had the pace anyway. It was hard to stay with him. So, but I would have fought him harder, but I still think he had very good pace to win the race. Like, he deserved to win.
Yeah, no, a fantastic podium for yourself. There must be a real good boost because it looked like a few of the Jaguar drivers struggled today. In fact, a few of you had quite a few incidents in qualifying. You retired from the first one. LPE retired from the second. It must be good to get a good boost in the race then.
Yeah, it was good to come back, and my first race back in a while. It's good to get a good result, and hopefully I do better next week and not crashing Q1 on my first lap.
I've seen it done so many times around this track now. You wouldn't. I've seen it done before where someone's crashed on that corner once in each qualifying session. It's amazing. Iestyn, any questions from yourself?
I was going to ask to Pease, what was your initial thoughts when you crashed and in qualifying? Do you think there was a chance of a podium?
No, I didn't, because I thought it's Hungary. It's going to be very hard to pass. But luckily, I got quite a good start. I was like 10th after turn 1, and I just tried to get through the field as much as possible. I had to send it on orange after the first safety car, and I had to send it on quite a few people because there was quite a few cars that people were stuck behind. And luckily, I managed to get past them, and I could build a gap.
Yeah. So we saw you start. It was very good. So I wasn't expecting you to be on the podium, but here we are. Well done. Good drive.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers to Pillars and Pete for joining us in the podium interviews. A very good race in the end. We weren't sure how much action Hungary was going to provide, but it just proves all you need is a few different strategies, a few safety cars, and it can be just as exciting as any of the other tracks on the calendar.
Yeah, an enjoyable race. I kind of cursed it with that late safety car, saying it was going to happen, and it did. A very good race, very enjoyable.
Yeah, it's definitely a very enjoyable race, and I think you're going to have to tell me where they are next week, because I've only just been added to the Discord, and I can't find where the calendar is.
Ooh, let me find that out. There'll be a couple of moments.
Belgium.
Ooh,
There's the answer.
I knew one of the drivers are now Belgium. That should pretty much the opposite of this circuit. Of such a long track and plenty of places to overtake. And again, you might see some weather and you might see some safety cars if we have any incidents through a Rouge or Blanchimont.
Yeah, there's many famous corners around that track, so should be it obviously does bring a lot of action. There's some pretty famous debuts happened to that track. There's some pretty special commentary moments happened to that track in real life Formula One. But yeah, it's a very, very good circuit.
Yeah, it's a very good circuit, and hopefully all you guys will be able to join us again next week. Thank you for all your comments in the chat. Thanks to Iestyn for joining me, and thanks to Peas and Pillars for joining us for the interviews. Will we see one of them or the pair of them on the podium at Belgium? You'll have to find out next time, same place on the Formula 4 channel. But from all of us, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your evening. Goodbye.